Premier Doug Ford is now pausing an ad that angered U.S. President Donald Trump, leading him to terminating trade talks with Canada and hiking tariffs on Canadian goods.
High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars.
And that's what we're in the middle of now. The ad from the Ontario government criticizes tariffs by citing a speech from former U.S. President Ronald Reagan. On Friday, Ford announced that he would pause the ad, but not until after it ran during Games 1 and 2 of the World Series. Trump then announced he would be imposing another 10% tariff hike on Canada.
Meanwhile, Trump has ruled out a meeting with Prime Minister Mark Carney this week while the pair are both in Asia. Trump made the comments aboard Air Force One on his way to Japan today. Trump told reporters he won't be meeting with Carney for a long time. He also says he doesn't know when the new tariffs on Canada will come into effect. Carney, who's in Malaysia for the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Summit, is set to speak with reporters today. It'll be the first time he's taken questions since Trump cut off trade talks with Canada on Thursday.
Now, meantime, Prime Minister Carney says he plans to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping this week. Carney says the pair will talk at the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum, APEC, in South Korea. Premiers and business leaders in Canada have been urging Carney to meet with Xi in an effort to ease trade tensions. China has imposed damaging tariffs on Canadian canola, seafood, and agricultural products in relation for Canada's tariffs on Chinese EVs and batteries.
If you're going down to the U.S., maybe you celebrate American Thanksgiving, you will soon need to get your photo taken.
Well, the country is advancing a plan to take a picture of Canadian travelers when they enter and exit the country by air, land, or port. So U.S. Customs and Border Protection has said that it expects to have facial biometric technology in place sometime next year. U.S. officials say that the facial biometrics is going to be used to enhance security and help enforce immigration laws. Photos taken of foreign travelers will remain in a database for up to 75 years.
There's an arson investigation underway in the Portuguese social club. It was torched in Junction Triangle. Footage shared with CP24. Look at this. Shows a suspect breaking into Casa de Madeira Community Center. That's at Dupont and Edwin Avenue early Wednesday morning with what appears to be a jerry can in hand. Shortly after they get inside, there is a large flash and the person stumbles out of the building with flames at their feet. The fire spills out of the building. There was extensive damage to the main hall of the social club. One table destroyed and the floor covered in soot. The vice president of the community center says the damage is around $1 million and it'll take up to a year for everything to be restored. Investigators have since released several images of the suspect they're looking for in connection with Wednesday's fire. If you recognize the person, then you're being asked to contact police or Crime Stoppers. If you're going down to the U.S., maybe you celebrate American Thanksgiving, you will soon need to get your photo taken.
Well, the country is advancing a plan to take a picture of Canadian travelers when they enter and exit the country by air, land, or port. So U.S. Customs and Border Protection has said that it expects to have facial biometric technology in place sometime next year. U.S. officials say that the facial biometrics is going to be used to enhance security and help enforce immigration laws. Photos taken of foreign travelers will remain in a database for up to 75 years.
We continue to track Hurricane Melissa as Jamaica braces for this powerful storm. A local aid organization is mobilizing to help. Rahul Singh with Global Medic joins us live to discuss how they are stepping up. Always great to chat with you, Rahul. Let's talk about what you guys are doing to assist in this what is most definitely going to be a devastating impact to Jamaica.
Yeah, actually, I'm standing in New Hamburg at the Argo factory. You can see these rescue units in behind me. We've been developing this new capacity to use these units to come into flooding. So it's kind of timely that we're talking about the potential impact in Jamaica because of the flooding. We've got 6 packages of aid that we're prepared to offer and help to Jamaica. We've already made the first 3 offerings. So the first one's to deploy in with teams with water purification systems to install into like schools where people would seek shelter or feeding kitchens or clinics or hospitals to restore immediately access to clean drinking water. We got a drone program we're willing to spin up as well to kind of make maps and kind of do comprehensive damage assessments to help them. And then, of course, our family emergency kits where we literally put thousands out and then hand them to families so that they can purify water in their homes. And then moms have access to clean drinking water. Those are the first 3 offers of aid that we've we've made so far.
You know, I remember from all of my conversations with you pretty much over the last 2 decades is that, you know, one of the things that Global Medic does is try to get the right aid to the right people at the right time. In comparison to some other natural disasters that you guys have attended to, like Haiti, how does this one differ, especially when it comes to the landscape? What do you expect to be the biggest challenge?
Well, you know, as you said, look, we're a pretty seasoned team. We've run almost 300 ops. We've worked in 90 countries. We've helped about 6.2 million people. So those are some pretty good numbers. It means we have a lot of experience at doing this. This is not the first hurricane we've responded to. This is not even the first time that we've worked in Jamaica. You remember last year, we had the same aid packages in. Our teams were installing these water units and then giving them out to families as well. So we're pretty seasoned and we understand what we're facing. Here's what we know we're going to get in a bit of trouble with. Because where the storm is, we know typically one of the airports, the bigger airports in low-lying areas, so even if the airport withstands the hit, the towns around it might be flooded. So if we put aid into there, we might not be able to get that aid out immediately. Whereas we're hoping Mobay's airport won't be as badly impacted and it'll have better infrastructure on the roads around it to land that aid in and then get it out to folks. But we're not going to know until the storm passes. What we've done is we've prepped all the kits so that we're able to respond, come in quick, you know, be agile, be mobile, and then be able to install those units to get people clean drinking water right away. Because let's face it, you can only go a couple of days without clean drinking water. And then we spin up the rest of the teams and come in. And look, if it's a bad storm, we'll offer field hospitals in, we'll offer food programming in. We'll do our best to be there for the people of Jamaica like we have in the past.
Rahul, for anyone who's watching here at home, how can they help? How can they contribute?
Listen, for anyone watching at home, there's 3 ways you can help us. One, a financial donation. We'll turn it literally into material aid on the ground. So, you know, for $25, you can create one of those family emergency kits that has a solar light, it has a hygiene kit, and it has that point of use water purification unit, which will make sure that mom has clean drinking water for a year for her kids. Second way to help is to actually come in and help us by volunteering to pack the 8 kits, because people come in and volunteer. We actually lower the price point because we're not paying a company to do it, which means we can help more people with the same money that we do. And then third way is just share what we're doing across your network, you know, because maybe your friends can give money or give their time to help. But look, we need to be ready to respond into Jamaica because this is a big storm. This is the biggest storm of the year. It's slow moving. Jamaica's had a lot of rain already in October. They call it the October rain. So the ground's pretty saturated, which will lead to increased flooding. Flooding is massive damage and its impact on the farmers. You know, and then the wind, we worry about, you know, how many roofs will be gone, you know, how many homes will be impacted. So it's that double impact. But we're on standby. We're needed. We're going to go and we're going to help.
That's Rahul Singh with Global Medic. We appreciate that update, and thanks to all the great work that you do. Appreciate it. Well, Food Banks Canada is warning that poverty and hunger are normalizing in Canada as food bank visits continue to rise relentlessly right across the country in 2025, reaching almost 2.2 million monthly visits. CP24's Scott Hurst joins us live with more on this concerning report. The number of Canadians using these food banks continues to skyrocket. What more can you tell us about this report?
Good morning, Jamie. Really soaring demand for food banks in this city and right across the country. No province has been spared from this significant increase over the last several years, and really soaring demand for basic nutrition for so many Canadians. In terms of visits specifically, the numbers are up more than 5% from just last year, and they've doubled since 2019. And as I mentioned, every province, every region feeling the impacts, becoming all too common and much more of a soaring need. As the report points out, the food bank system is no longer sustainable in the way it was meant to operate as a last resort, not a primary source of food and nutrition for millions of Canadians. So here's a closer look at some of the sobering numbers and statistics. Monthly visits to food banks have doubled since 2019. As you mentioned, almost 2.2 million visits in March 2025 alone. Nearly 1 in 5 food bank clients are employed, meaning people who have jobs, have a stable income, yet after covering everything else are still short putting food on the table instead of a quick run to the grocery store on the way home from work. So many people are now having to make a run to the food bank instead. Here's more from the CEO of Food Banks Canada on the desperate need.
It does shock me to see the number of people who have jobs coming to food banks. That's a real concern. You know, we polled and saw that it is every sector, every type of job, from construction to receptionists. Like, folks are needing to stop at the food bank on their way home from work rather than the grocery store. And it's really shocking to see just how far people are falling behind every single month. And as you said, this is becoming the new normal in Canada, and it can't be. We need to see this number reverse next year.
And Jamie, another number that should be shocking for Canadians from coast to coast, that about 1/3 of food bank clients, 33%, are in fact children. That's more than 700,000 monthly visits from young people ultimately not getting enough food from their bellies. And that's 300,000 more children since just a few years ago. So there's the kids, but also seniors are seeing increasing demand in food banks over the last couple of years, Jamie. So it's affecting pretty much all demographics, and it's pretty much affecting everywhere you go across this country.
That's CTV's Scott Hurst. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie.
Police are investigating a shooting and carjacking in Etobicoke that sent 2 people to hospital. For the latest on this, let's go live to CP24's crime analyst, Steve Ryan. Steve, any indication on suspects or suspect description?
Not yet. We're still waiting for an update from Toronto Police. So this is where the city's latest carjacking happened, according to TPS, on Rexdale Boulevard near Queens Plate Drive. Now, what differentiates a theft of auto from a carjacking is the use of violence, or the threat of violence. So obviously, with a theft of a vehicle, it's taken from a parking lot or your driveway. Carjacking happens when there's people actually in the vehicle. And this is what police say happened at 2:30 this morning in this gas station behind me. A man in his 40s and a woman in her 30s were approached by the suspect or suspects. A gun was produced. It was discharged, striking the 40-year-old man. The man was taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, and the woman was assaulted. So this is the latest incident of a carjacking that's occurred in the west end of the city, and the police are actively investigating, so I'm sure we'll get an update at some point in time with regards to a suspect description, vehicle description, but that's all we have as of right now. There's very good video surveillance in this gas station, and I mean, the casino is right behind or just to the north of us, so there may be some traffic that has gone through here when this was occurring. If you have information, you think you may have witnessed this occurrence, you are being encouraged to give the police a call. I'll send it back to you for now.
Thanks for that report, Steve.
Police say a Brampton man wanted in connection with the death of a Toronto woman whose body was found in Niagara region may have fled the country. Canada-wide warrant has been issued for the arrest of 27-year-old Manpreet Singh. He is wanted for second-degree murder in the death of Amanpreet Saini. Investigators say they have more information suggesting that Singh fled Canada shortly after Saini's body was discovered. Anyone who sees Singh is asked to stay away and call 911. Saini's body was found Tuesday morning at Charles Daly Park in Lincoln in Niagara region. Her cause of death has not been released, but investigators say she suffered traumatic injuries. Police say she was killed in a targeted attack. If you have any information, you're asked to contact Niagara Police or Crime Stoppers.
The Ford government is proposing removing the provincial portion of the HST on most new homes for first-time buyers. The province says that it'll rebate 8% of the tax on new homes valued up to $1 million. It says that would save buyers up to $80,000 when combined with existing provincial relief. The government also claims that the measure would spur the construction of more homes in addition to bringing down costs. However, it says implementation of the rebate, that is subject to the passage of legislation, which would remove the federal portion of the HST for first-time buyers. Ontario Finance Minister Peter Bethlenfalvy spoke to CP24 about the proposal today.
I talk to Ontarians right across the province, and housing has gone up a lot in the last couple of decades, and so that people are struggling in this environment to be able to afford that first home, that dream of the first home. And this is going to make it easier for them to achieve that dream.
Ontario NDP leader Marcel says that she supports the HST rebate, but wants the government to do more to boost the province's housing supply.
What home are we going to be buying? Where are they? The government has given up on their commitment completely to build 1.5 million homes. They don't even want to talk about any kind of targets. They've given up completely. And people that we have been training to do the work to build those homes are unemployed right now.
The measures announced today will be included in Ontario's fall economic statement. That's set to be tabled November 6th. Well, the Ford government is proposing removing the provincial portion of the HST on most new homes. This is for first-time buyers. The province says it's going to rebate 8% of the tax on new homes valued up to $1 million. It says that would save buyers up to $80,000 when combined with the existing provincial relief. The government also claims that the measure would spur the construction of more homes in addition to bringing down costs. However, it says implementation of the rebate, that is subject to the passage of legislation which would remove the federal portion of the HST for first-time buyers. And for more on this, I'm joined by Finance Minister Peter Bethlenfalvy. Minister, thanks a lot for joining us. So let's take a look at the numbers. We're talking about $80,000 in the pockets of first-time home buyers, but there could actually be a little bit more to that.
Yeah, good to be with you, Bakari. This is a big day. We've signaled if the federal government puts, which I expect them to do, in their budget, waiving the HST for first-time buyers of new builds, this will put the dream of home ownership in the sights of many families and people and individuals across the province. So think about it. It's up to $1 million for the purchase of a home. So 8% GST from the province, that's $80,000, matched by the feds with their 5%. So that's $50,000. So on up to $1 million home, that's $130,000. That's real money for many, many people in Ontario.
Okay, so the Ontario Real Estate Association, they released a statement basically praising this move, saying that this is in line with keeping the dream of home ownership alive. Let's talk about that. What is that dream?
Well, we were all young at one point, at least I was younger. And that dream of, for many people I talk to, Ontarians right across the province, and, housing has gone up a lot in the last couple of decades. And so that people are struggling in this environment to be able to afford that first home, that dream of the first home. And this is going to make it easier for them to achieve that dream. And I think many people that I've come across are thanking us already for doing this, including some of the younger people that I know in Pickering and beyond. So this is a really good news day for those people starting to look for their first home, or if they've been trying to look for their first home.
Okay, Minister, we also have to talk about what the critics are saying. They're saying that this does not go far enough. It's not a big enough incentive for young people who can't afford rent, let alone trying to save for that down payment. Look, a lot of people have to get help in order for this down payment. So let's talk about this.
Yeah, look, it's a big number, 13% off. I think on qualifying homes, as I said, up to $130,000 when combined with the federal relief here is real money to a lot of real people in Ontario. It's not the only thing. We've put in billions to build infrastructure in communities to help municipalities build more homes and condos. I was again just in Pickering earlier last week or late last week on Friday. There are more condos getting built there. The Building Faster Fund handing out checks. Getting things built. We've also cut the HST, another 13% for purpose-built rentals. So that's also making it easier for developers to be able to build the homes, whether they're rentals. And now with this HST on home ownership, we're doing a lot of things to help people out in Ontario.
And when can we expect to see this rebate for these first-time home buyers? What are they going to have to do in order to get the money?
That's a great question. So what we said today is that this will be effective last May of 2025. So, and it'll go forward for another 5 years. If you buy a house in the next 5 years, what has to happen is I have to table my fall economic statement next Thursday, November 6th, and have it passed. Also, the federal government, who's also doing a budget on Tuesday, next week, they have to table that and they have to pass the legislation. But that's my expectation, and we're going to help out a lot of people in Ontario, fulfill that dream of buying that first home.
And as we wrap up, I do have to ask about that dream of home ownership. Should people change their expectations?
Well, every bit helps. We cut the gas tax for people who are using the car. We cut it pretty substantially, made it permanent. We've cut the integrated fare, so one fare to take transit, saving some people $1,600 a year in transit costs. We took the tolls off highways in Ontario. So, we're doing things to make things more affordable for people. This is another step to help people not only put money in their pocket, but also attain that first home that they've been dreaming about.
Okay. Finance Minister Peter Bethlenfalvy, thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
Always a pleasure.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is calling on other parties to support legislation aimed at combating intimate partner violence. Stats Canada says the number of reports of intimate partner violence increased by 14% between 2018 and 2024. The report also notes the number of women subjected to intimate partner violence in 2024 was 3.5 times higher than the number of men. MP Frank Caputo tabled the new bill to increase the penalties for offenders.
128,000 victims of intimate partner violence suffered in 2024. We have family violence is up 17% in the last 6 years. We see around 79% of intimate partner violence homicide victims are women. 26,000 children were victims of this violence. And this is all the direct result of C-75, liberal bail, which allows repeat offenders to be released as soon
as a former Crown prosecutor, as a former federal parole officer, I have seen the pernicious impact of intimate partner violence. This is a crime that spans every socioeconomic group. It is vastly underreported and disproportionately impacts women, especially vulnerable women.
Well, the family of Bailey McCourt, a BC woman murdered by her estranged husband this past summer, supports the legislation.
We have been counting every day since Bailey was murdered and watching and seeing the number of women murdered, and we are demanding change. There's no need to wait. This is an epidemic, and we fully support Bill C-225, Bailey's Law. We're so grateful to Mr. Caputo for honoring Bailey's name, and we're going to continue to push for change.
The legislation was developed with input from victims of intimate partner violence who want to see changes to the criminal justice system.
The Toronto Region Board of Trade is outlining its priorities for Toronto's next slate of mayoral candidates.
The What's at Stake campaign says potential candidates need to focus on 3 key pillars. The board is calling on leaders to implement Treasury Board-style management to set spending priorities and measure outcomes. The campaign is also calling for a credible plan to reduce congestion and improve transit. The final pillar is for candidates to focus on balanced land use by protecting employment lands and accelerating housing supply. The next election, by the way, is October 26th of next year, so a year ago yesterday.